All right, I don't really know how to start this, so I'm just going to say, hey, it's me, Michelle Morris TV, and we're here with Gaby Garton. Welcome. So I guess let's get this out of the way, right? You play for Argentina. I am Chilean. So now that that's
That's a
all said,
problem. Oh, wait, no, that's not a
yeah.
problem. All right, well, that's settled. It's settled. We won't have to go into that.
um, so now that that's out of the way, we can push that aside. We can be friends. All right.
All right.
So, I guess my first question is, you grew up in America. Yeah, you were born over there, yeah?
Yep. Yep.
So how did you get into football?
So no one in my family really likes, not that they don't like football, but at least in my immediate family, neither of my parents were very athletic. But growing up, I loved sport. I lived outside pretty much. So almost all my friends were boys when I was younger, and I really wanted to play American football, but I couldn't because I was a girl. And one of the sports that we started doing at school was, yeah, we call it soccer too. I hate it; it hurts my ears, but call it soccer. Started playing soccer at school and liked it, and a lot of my classmates were also playing in a local league. So I joined a local girls team when I was 8, I think. Yeah, and I really liked it. I wasn't very good because I'd been coming from playing American football like all the time, like pickup games with my friends. So it was always with our hands. Played baseball as well, and also played some tennis. So my hand-eye coordination was quite good, but my feet were a bit far behind. So um, it took a little while for me to get used to using my feet for more than just running. And I think that's probably one of the reasons I ended up in goal by the age of 10. So
That's fair enough. I mean, I guess being a goalkeeper, you would have to have that kind of hand-eye coordination. So I guess it worked out in the end.
I did, and I didn't
Um,
mind getting muddy, even though I think my parents weren't the biggest fans of having to clean my gear after every session. But I loved it.
is that why you got into goalkeeping?
Yeah, I think it was. I think most goalkeepers will tell you the same. It's kind of like, it's not really that you choose the position; it's kind of like the position chooses you. And yeah, I kind of filled all those categories or requirements in terms of, like, I was always pretty tall on my team. I wasn't afraid of the ball. I liked um, diving and being muddy, and I had pretty good hand-eye coordination. So I was like, all right, well, you're not bad at this, so no one else wants to go in goal. You can stay there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But then I grew to like it, and but throughout like my youth years, I luckily was able to develop a little bit more ability with my feet, thanks to one of my youth club coaches who was adamant that a goalkeeper should be as good with her feet as a field player. So we would be worked into most of the keep away drills and small sided games without goals. So got pretty decent with my feet, and to a point where when I was in high school, I would play the first half in goal, and depending how the game was going, how the match was going, sometimes I'd play the second half as a midfielder. So it was a nice mix. And then once I got to college, I was recruited as a goalkeeper. So it's pretty much where I've been stuck ever since.
I guess that's something that a lot of us Australians don't really know, the college system. Do you want to just explain, I guess, how that works?
It's I guess when I was growing up, uh, there wasn't actually a pro league. So we had, I guess I saw all three pro leagues that existed in the U.S. for the women's game. But the final version, so the NWSL, I think it was the year I graduated college was when it had its inaugural season, which was 2012 or 20, yeah, end of 2012. And so growing up, the only thing I really had to aspire to was playing in college. So my goal was to play for a D1, Division One NCAA school with a scholarship. And yeah, it's pretty well at that point in time. It was like the highest level that you could play in term beyond the national team, obviously in the U.S. And it's I mean, there are tons of teams. It's crazy the amount of teams that are there. But even still, the amount of girls who play soccer or football in the U.S. is immense. Like millions and millions of girls that are competing pretty much against you for a limited amount of spots in college, and it's highly competitive. I don't know. I think sometimes when you look forward to something so much, when it actually gets there, it kind of lets you down a bit. I didn't have the greatest college experience. I loved my schools, I loved my teammates, but it's stressful. I got to the point where I didn't look forward to practices. It was almost like a job, and didn't enjoy it as much. Actually, kind of fell back in love with the game was when I moved to Argentina. Actually, when my football became enjoyable again. But for me, college was like, I don't know, getting run into the ground every single day at practice, like injuries from overuse, just feeling exhausted all the time. It was kind of but it was something that did set you apart. Like as a college athlete, like you had a different kind of status on campus. It taught me a lot of things in terms of time management and being able to juggle practices almost at like a professional level of commitment. Like if I compare the amount of hours that we put into training in college, it's not too far off what a pro team would normally do. And then on top of that, you're going to classes full time and studying, and it's a lot, but it's something. I think if I had to go back and do it again, I would still do it again, even though I know it was a hard time, but I think it was definitely worth it.
Coming back to that, South America, they're football crazy, and especially in the men's side where, you have Argentina that's qualifying for the World Cup year in, year out. And, you've got Boca Juniors in the final for the Copa. And it seems like that there's always such a struggle for the women's side, and Colombia had such a, so close to getting that World Cup bid, and then obviously Australia won. But I guess, in terms of the national team for you, how have like the struggles been, or, has there been any positives?
Yeah, actually, it was really cool. This whole like the last 2 years pretty much. So my first experience with the national team was in 2011, which is before I graduated from uni. I had the chance to train with the national team. They were preparing for the 2011 Pan American Games, and I was like in the process of getting my dual citizenship. So my mom is from Argentina. That's why the connection with Argentina. And again, it was like, it wasn't as big of a shock as when I went to River, but I was still surprised. Like, you're training with the national team, you'd expect them to have top gear, great facilities. Like, they had stuffed us into like a futsal locker room. There were 25 of us changing in a space for 10 people. Like all the gear that they had given us to train in was all old. Like, it was years old, all big. It didn't really matter like what size you wanted. You used what you got pretty much. I saw some of the players that had their boots all stitched up because they couldn't afford to buy new ones, and their clubs wouldn't provide them. Just things I was like, this is crazy at the national team level. Like, when I would tell them that, they would ask me about like what it was like to play in college, and I would explain that we have 2 games a week, that we would get like all brand new gear every single year before the season started, that we always had access to a pitch, that we knew our schedule like a year in advance pretty much. And then they would tell me that, I think to a certain extent, I didn't entirely believe that they were telling me the whole truth, because I don't know if Chileans are the same, but in Argentina, we tend to exaggerate situations. So I was like, no, they're probably exaggerating. Like, they would tell me, no, we don't know when we play until like the Wednesday of the week that we're playing a game. So we don't know if we're playing Saturday or Sunday or what time, and even sometimes what field. And I was like, nah, that can't be real. Or that sometimes their matches would get the whole weekend of matches would get suspended if one match didn't go along, because there was no makeup. There were no room for makeup matches during the week. So like, there were, like I said, that you would play a season when it's basically one round, right? So you just play every team once. And in a league with 14 teams, you would expect the season to take about 13 weeks. But there were times that a 13-week season would take an entire year. And I was like, no way, they're exaggerating. And then, after I graduated college, I was like, well, I still want to keep playing, and wasn't probably going to have any opportunities in the U.S. So one of the girls I met on the national team that year, that's when she said, well, we need a goalkeeper at River. And so that's when I went, and I realized that they were actually probably underestimating, or maybe didn't want to sound like, make it sound as unorganized as it really was, but it was definitely a shock. And then my next experience with the national team was in 2015. Had a bit of bad luck in 2014 when Argentina was like preparing for World Cup qualifying at a match. It was like we were winning like 3-0 against Estudiantes, which was a team from La Plata. And with 20 minutes to go, I tore my ACL. And later, I think 2 days later, well, I didn't know I tore it I felt like I had in that moment, but like the team doctor was like, well, wait till we get the results back from the MRI and then we'll see. She wasn't convinced that I'd torn my ACL. And so I remember that I was actually teaching like a private English lesson on that next Tuesday. We played on a Sunday and it was on a Tuesday. And I received the call from the team doc saying that, yes, like I had torn my ACL. And like, I don't know, 20 minutes later, something like that, I received a text message from the national team coach at the time saying like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your knee. We were going to call you up. Like, see you in 6 months.
Damn.
I was like, oh, crap. So I missed out on World Cup qualifying that year, and Argentina lost out on a World Cup spot by one place. They just needed to tie Ecuador in the last game of World Cup qualifying, and the girls were up 2-0, and Ecuador came back and won 3-2. I remember I was following it on Twitter, and it was like, because there was no other way to watch the matches, and I was like, oh, they're up 2-0. It's good. Like, we have a good chance of qualifying. And then I was like, I don't have to check my phone again until after the game because I was too stressed. And then we lost 3-2, and I couldn't believe it.
But you're in Australia now, in this wonderful country, and you're in Melbourne, home of COVID-19.
Oh my God.
Is that insensitive to say? Maybe. But you've signed for Essendon, yeah?
Yeah.
I guess, there's no games at the moment or anything. But how's it been so far for you?
No, I mean, the year started great. Put a pretty good squad together, actually. We're playing State League 1. We're aiming for promotion to the NPL. So, actually our coach had put together a really good squad. We had a lot of support from the club, and so everyone was really excited about the year. And we had the first lockdown, came out of that, and we're like, all right, we got like a month and a half, and they'd already announced the date for the season to start, and we're like looking forward to that. And then second lockdown, so it's been a rough start. The good thing is, like, I've met some people, and we're allowed to train with one other person. So like before our conversation, I was training with another goalkeeper coach from the academy that I'm working at as well. So it's been able, like, and then I train with another teammate who also plays footy for the Western Bulldogs. So she's on her off season going to play football with us. And then, so she's been, putting me through her off season runs, which has not been fun, but at least someone to run with, and, yeah, I don't know, keeping busy with PhD work and teaching some classes at Victoria Uni. So I think that's made the time go faster. But I think if I were only playing football here, I'd probably, I don't know, be going crazy. But it's been a rough year. But luckily met some really good people and feel supported. So it's not like I'm 100% away from, any sort of support system, which I think is important especially when you're thinking about immigrating or going somewhere new. It's always a challenge, but yeah, especially under these circumstances.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think this is the ideal situation, for anyone, especially if you're coming somewhere to play sport, especially in a country, in a city like Melbourne, where it's very much, everybody loves their sport there. They think that they're the home of sport, but they'd be wrong.
I
But
couldn't say because this year I think the last sporting event that was like with fans was the cricket World Cup final,
oh
which
yeah,
yeah, I think I wouldn't have been worthwhile for me to go because I don't even understand anything of cricket. So it would have been like, I don't know. One of my one of my colleagues at VU, she's from Brazil, and she said she went and she was just like, "All right, time to get another beer. I have no idea what's going on." She was like basically when she got too many beers deep, she's like, "All right, I think I need to go." She was like, didn't have no idea when the game was even going to end. So, but that was
yeah,
an
I feel that.
amazing turnout for women's sport anyway. It's a
Oh, that was
good way to
insane.
like go out with a bang at least. Be like the last thing that the last sporting event that you had with fans was a women's cricket match with a packed MCG. So I think
I
that's
think there's a
quite
documentary on Netflix about it.
oh, I have to watch it. I think
Yeah.
I saw something that there was one coming out. I didn't know it was on Netflix, so I have to
Yeah,
look into
someone, I don't know, posted on Twitter with a screenshot saying that they were in it, and then I was like, oh, good for you. Um, all right. We're coming up to the end of this, and we have one question that we ask everybody that we will ever ask, like everybody that we know, anybody. Okay, it's a big deal, and it has torn friendships apart, and it's a big thing in the ladies' league. So my question for you is: pancakes or waffles?
pancakes.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. We love that. There's that South American connection that we have,
Yeah.
because that's very important. I am team pancakes. In case
All right, you scared me with that. I was like, this question could be difficult, but yeah, I mean,
um.
it can see how it can be pretty divisive, though.
Oh, it. Yeah. I cancelled Rose about it like when it first happened, and then it just took off from there. I went on Twitter and I was like, she doesn't like pancakes, and she's dead to me. Um, Thank you so much for talking with us, and yeah, we really appreciate it. And I guess good luck with everything that's going on
Thank you.
in Victoria. It's not the best situation.
It's always great to be able to talk to people in media who are excited about women's sport and support it and are excited about getting the word out and also communicating in a way that's entertaining and not just informative. I think that's an important part of being able to make to increase like the visibility of women's sport is making it entertaining as well. So I think you guys are doing an awesome job at that, and you ladies are doing an awesome job at that, and it's fun to follow on social media. So keep it up.
Oh, we appreciate it because we think that we're just a bunch of idiots with like 3 brain cells. So, at least people like
Those
us.
are the
So.
trolls. Those are the trolls. You guys aren't trolls. So.
No, it's me. I think that we're just a bunch of idiots with 3 brain cells. All right. Well, thank you so much, and hopefully you're back to playing soon. We'll definitely be following along and following your journey.
All right. Thanks. Keep our fingers crossed for
Oh,
for the end of COVID.